the gear sucked ass, dude. I was like in a Garfield life jacket with like a bike helmet and like a trash bag for a fucking dry top, so I'm like a little kid, so I'm small and I'm cold and I'm just like, what the fuck is this, man? Like this sucks.
Wise words about kayaking from a man who has spent his life chasing whitewater. I have the quintessential kayaking guest today who I'm sure you're going to be stoked to hear from. But first, I continue to be so thankful to my sponsors who care enough about the sport to support a little podcast like mine to help keep it going and share these stories with the community. Please be sure to keep them in mind. One of today's sponsors is Four Corners River Sports. To me, Four Corners is exactly what a paddling shop should be. It's staffed with dedicated river people who know the sport inside and out and are all about having fun and getting people outside. Four Corners River Sports is located in Durango, Colorado. They're a full-service paddle sports retail and rental store. If you're looking to get on the water, look no further than Four Corners River Sports. Call them at 970-259-3893 or visit their website at www.riversports.com. This episode is also sponsored by Taylor Barker with the group Real Estate Steamboat. I've known and paddled with Taylor for years, and he brings passion to everything he does. Steamboat Springs is a wonderful town with the Yampa River running right through it and has a vibrant and friendly boating community. If you're thinking about making a move to the Steamboat area or purchasing a vacation home, be sure to get in touch with Taylor. He's happy to give you a lay of the land, the real estate market, and to help find the perfect property for you. You can reach him at 336-314-4353 or by email at taylor@brokerintheboat.com. And you can find those links in the show notes. This podcast is being featured on paddlinglife.com. Paddlinglife.com does a wonderful job of finding all the most interesting happenings in the world of paddling and bringing them straight to you in the form of news, interviews, articles, videos, and more. Check out paddlinglife.com. But now it is on to the show. Enjoy. Hello, and welcome to Tales from the Crypts, a Whitewater storytelling podcast. Today's guest is not your average John in the world of kayaking. If you've been involved in whitewater kayaking anytime in the last few decades, it's more than likely that you'll recognize his name. He's been laying treats all around the globe for most of his adult life. He's been on the competitive freestyle circuit. He's paddled some of the hardest whitewater around the world. He's consistently placed high in extreme downriver races like the Little White Race, the North Fork Championship, and the Green Race. He's been in a long-term relationship with Pyranha kayaks for decades. He lived in a van down by the river before it was cool. He was recently featured in Kayak Session magazine. He arguably has done more for the evolution of kayaking lexicon than just about any other person in the world of whitewater. If you've ever given someone a shrig or been thrown a brown claw or any jaw like that, you largely have him to thank. My guest is so famous, they named an international pasta after him. He puts the D in Demshitz. Dave Fusilli, welcome to the show.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you. Yeah, what an introduction. I feel humbled, man. Yeah, it has been quite a whirlwind of paddling and exploration and living in vans and creating strange hand signs and signals and man, all for the love and just trying to have fun out there and enjoy every day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's why we want you here. And I have to admit, when I had originally conceived of the podcast, I was thinking more about getting the people on that you never hear from. And I mean, honestly, you're like one of the more recognized names in the world of kayaking. But I think, I was doing some media search before this interview, and I was thinking, like there's a lot of great little Demshitz clips out of there, but there's not a lot of stuff with you just sitting down and talking to people. I think Nick Hines did a little thing with you not that long ago, and the kayak session write up was awesome actually, and we could just like reread that on the air here and make a good podcast episode. But I think we got a little time to dig into some more stories that maybe people haven't heard, so I'm kind of psyched about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, dude. Yeah, I was stoked. I was super stoked on the kayak session article, and yeah, honored to be a part of that. So it was cool. I think it turned out really well, and I don't know. It was funny to me that we had like there's some kayaking in there, then there's some ass shots, then there's like snowmobiling, dirt biking. Like I was stoked to mix it up.
That's awesome. Well, let me get some Demshitz questions out of the way here before we get going. So imagine you've got a young boater out there who's stoked on kayaking. Maybe he's been kayaking for a year. They just ran their first class 4. Maybe they're looking to run their first class 4, but they're laying in bed and they're asking themselves, like looking up at the stars. They've heard about Demshitz, maybe seen a video here, but they're asking themselves, "Am I Demshitz?" What do you say to that young kayaker?
I say, fuck yeah, you are. You know, if you got the if you've got the motivation to become a class 4 paddler or whatever it may be, class 3, class 4, class 5, and you're stoked to go, you are Demshitz in any shape, form, or fashion, in any sport that you can name. It's all about, just kind of like charging after whatever it may be. And that's kind of like how we always looked at it anyway. Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Oh, I get it. Hell yeah. All right. Well, I've got politics on my mind because I just voted in the Colorado primary that we had today. So, I'm looking at the ballot. Is Trump a Demshitz?
Oh God, dude. Is Trump a I'm trying to think. He like kind of is, because he's funny. He doesn't seem to give a fuck, but he's kind of like, I don't know. I think that he might make too much money, and I think Demshits are generally more humble than Trump. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Interesting that you had to pause and think about that one.
Yeah, we'd take him kayaking. Yeah, I'd take him kayaking. Fuck it.
Man, I bet politics would be a lot better if we had more kayakers in office.
Politics need more psychedelics.
There you go. Psychedelics and kayaking, and we have a good world out there. Teo Berman tried to run for office at some point in Oregon or something, right? Is Teo Demshitz?
Teo is Demshitz. He is. He's a very nice human being. Yeah. I like Teo. He's got a different style to him, but he's extremely nice and generous. But I think that he could probably use psychedelics too, though. I always say that, I was like, if we want to change the world, we should put all of the world leaders onto a Grand Canyon raft trip and make them eat something, shrooms, acid, whatever, like the whole goddamn time. And then when they come out of the Grand Canyon after 18, 20 days or whatever it may be of enjoying, like, the beauty of Mother Nature, along with mind altering, perspective changing experience, we would have a much better world. But I don't know if that'll ever happen.
Man,
That's
I'm pro.
Be a push.
I'm pro that experiment. I don't think it's going to happen, but I like the idea.
That's my dream.
Jimmy Carter, that guy was a big canoeer. Like there's some video out there of him canoeing, like some class 4 in the Southeast or something. Yeah.
I think he was a pretty solid dude too. I'm pretty solid president.
Yeah. I mean, he got shit on by a lot of people, I guess, for not being super effective, but the guy definitely cared about,
he might have been too hot.
He wasn't in it for the fame. That guy cared. Yeah.
Maybe he went on the psychedelic side too big. You gotta everything's a balance,
You gotta balance. Every life's balance. All right, so I like to because kayaking is a small world, I like to try to figure out if I have a little connection with my guests some way. So I have a little story about a connection I have here with you. As I mentioned before, I did meet you briefly at Bailey Fest long ago, but just briefly. But I had a more recent encounter, and this was, I don't know, a few years back, and I was out there with some buddies from Colorado out in Jah Gorge there. Nice. And we were on the Green Truss. It was the first full day we were there. And we were going to do like the Toto white salmon, and it was pretty like, I don't know. I haven't paddled there a lot, but it's like it was more than a medium flow, but it was not
Yeah,
like super juicy like I've seen it before.
for sure.
And so it was like fine to do kind of the whole thing. And we got to, and I didn't. So we did do like a quick lap the like night before when we got there, and I had this kind of, I think it's Bob's hole, right? It's the one right above that big hole right above Big Brother,
Correct.
and yeah, and so I got directions to go right, but I didn't really understand I was supposed to go way right, and so I kind of went like center right and like looked at this big hole and did my
Yeah,
best to boof it, but kind of got back entered. Fortunately, like did a quick roll and was able to paddle out before I really got chundered in that thing.
that's good. You got.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen it go worse.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, the next day I kind of knew the drill. I was like, all right, you go way right, you boof into this eddy, and then you go downstream. And so I made the move into the eddy, and we had kind of a big group. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to clear this eddy so the next person can come through. And so I start to ferry out away from that eddy, and I look upstream, and the next guy was pretty hot behind me, and he's coming in, but I'm looking at him, and I think he's looking at me, and I'm thinking like, all right, we're good. Like he's going to boof into the eddy. I'm totally clear right now. But instead, I think he's kind of gripped, and he takes a big, huge right boof stroke as hard as he can, just like straight at me. And I kind of like put up my shoulder and dip my head back and try to block it, but his bow like knocks into my shoulder, and it kind of rides up and kind of hits me like right above the eye. And I feel slightly dazed, but I think I'm okay. I might have rolled. I can't remember, but I kind of paddled downstream and eddy out where a bunch of other people are. And they're kind of, people are looking at me, and I'm kind of seeing a little blood coming down my face. And, I'm kind of like, am I all right? And they're sort of looking at me, giving me that eye, like, I don't know how much I should say. Looks like you kind of split your skin open there above your eye. And ultimately decided that I should walk out. Got hit to the head, probably need stitches on my eye.
Right.
So we walked out right there, went down to the Hood River ER,
Oh
and
yeah.
I get into the ER, tell them my story, and they're like, another Colorado beater, So the guy takes a look at me, and he's like, yeah, this, that skin's really thin there. We need to get some stitches in you. And I was like, oh God, I just started my kayaking trip. He's like, it's okay. We can glue you up. This glue is really good. You can keep kayaking. I'm like, great. Stitch me up. Let's go.
Yeah.
And so the nurse comes in, it's like kind of prepping me. And she's like, oh, where were you? What section were you kayaking? And I was like, oh, the Green Truss. And she's kind of like, oh God, I didn't think, like people would be such beaters on there at this kind of level. I was like, well, leave it to those Colorado boaters. And then she says, hey, do you know Dave Fusilli? And I was like, oh, well, we have some mutual friends. I've met him briefly a long time ago. I know of him. And she says, oh, well, I'm his fiance, Gina. And I'm like, oh, perfect. I come to Hood River, I get beat up, I go to the ER, and I've got Dave Fusilli's nurse like prepping me for stitches. This is perfect. Dave Fusilli's
Yeah.
fiance. So I don't know. I thought it was a funny story, like classic Hood River thing.
No, she's also my nurse. It's like in doing the things that we do, it's nice to have your own nurse.
That does come in handy. Was that part of the selection process when you guys started dating?
It was. I first thing I asked, "Are you a nurse?" She said yes. I said, "All right, let's see how this goes."
All right. Well, I thought it might be cool to start out with sort of just I'm stealing this from. Have you heard the Wet and Dry podcast? Brent Orton and Adrian Mattern doing this little podcast.
I haven't listened to it. But I haven't listened to it, so they're probably pissed at me now.
Yeah, well, they probably won't listen to this. So, but yeah, I just discovered it last fall. I think they just started up last fall, but I thought they're doing a pretty good job. It's just them kind of sitting around talking about what's on their mind for the most part. But I really liked the last episode that Bren did, which was what he calls his origin story, which was kind of growing up on the wrong side of this town in England, and how kayaking just totally got a hold of him from the get-go, and he's just run with it ever since. And of course you played like a huge role in his life too. You were like a huge mentor for him, and he talks about you and his origin story.
Yeah.
But I thought we could steal that idea of the origin story, and maybe you can kind of like kick us off with your origin story, how you got
Yeah.
going with kayaking and how it sent you on this crazy trajectory.
Yeah, man. Well, for one, yeah, Bren was he was an experience. He definitely we definitely taught him a lot the hard way, but I knew that he would do exactly what he's doing to this day, which is really cool to see. He had such a fire in his eyes and in his hair that I knew that he was, he was going to be, yeah, just doing an awesome job and you know, figuring out a way to make it all work, which is the tricky part with kayaking. But yeah, myself,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, man, I kind of like, it was kind of like a wave of liking and disliking kayaking at first. My dad was a paddler. He learned, he was in Pittsburgh and pretty much would drive down to the Youghiogheny to Ohiopyle State Park just because he for
Mhm.
some reason liked the outdoors, and well, not some reason, but he wasn't exposed to it from his parents, so he kind of found it on his own, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Um, so yeah, he saw kayakers in the river, and he was like, "What the hell is that? I want to do that." He ended up getting into kayaking and like learning how to roll, or not. Shit, I don't know if he ever learned to roll, but he he started he started getting into it right around the year I was born. So that was like 1981. I was born, and I think that's when Dad started paddling. By the time I was 7 years old, he had me in a swimming pool and was teaching me how to roll. So that was like 88. Uh, and basically, he wanted nothing more than for me to be a whitewater kayaker. Like he loved it so much, and
Yeah.
he wanted me to be a kayaker more than anything, from what I could tell. And in those younger years, I was just like, the gear sucked ass, dude. I was like in a
Oh yeah.
Garfield life jacket with like a bike helmet and like a trash bag for a fucking dry top. So I'm like a little kid, so I'm small and I'm cold, and all of his buddies are all in like skin tight neoprene, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this, man? Like, this sucks. And there were no other kids doing it back then. Especially, I grew up in northwestern
Sure.
Pennsylvania. Yeah, a small town. um, there were very few kids doing it in general, and no one doing it where we grew up. It's just my dad. Um, anyway,
Yeah.
he yeah, he eventually, dude. I remember doing a couple. He sent me on a couple clinics in Slippery Rock Creek, which is just north of Pittsburgh, teaching how to ferry, catch eddies, and just some general skills. I remember doing that probably like at like 9 or 10 years old, and then basically I wasn't that stoked on it till about I'd go with my dad sometimes, but very rarely, and I didn't really get that fired up on it until I was about to graduate high school. So I was like 16 years old, and I was at the Cheat River Festival in West Virginia, which is awesome. I love that. It's great, awesome music. You camp on the river. The Cheat River Canyon is still, that's one of my favorite river festivals to go to. Period. It might be my favorite. It's
Hmm.
so fun.
Really?
Um, yeah, it's great, dude. But I remember, you know, kind of thinking to myself, I was an athlete, so I was football, basketball, track throughout high school, and I knew myself
Hmm.
well enough to know that if I didn't have some kind of a physical outlet for my energy, that I'd probably be in fucking jail or something. Uh, and so I was like, I
Which
better jump
apparently you
back.
were anyway, but we'll get to
Yeah,
that.
I still ended up in jail here and there, but um, so I kind of I was like, I gotta jump back in this kayak. So I was about 16 years old, jumped in an RPM at the Cheat Fest, and I had all the skills from a little kid, so I could roll. I had really good edge
Hmm.
control. I knew how to read the water, and then I'm like, how do you
Hmm.
squirt this thing? And someone told me, and I pretty much was able to figure it out in like, I don't know, under 5 tries or something. Flipping over, rolling up. I was like, this is fun as shit. And then and then after, dude, literally after that day till now it was just like a complete addiction. It was like it was just so it's just so
Well,
funny because my dad was pushing for me to do that for so many years, and you know, it's like this is a lesson to dads. You know, your children have to figure it out. They have to find it themselves. You can steer the ship
mm.
a little bit, but you
Now
know,
you had
go ahead.
sorry, you had siblings as well, didn't you? Was he trying to teach them too?
Yeah, yeah. My sister,
Like, did
she's
that make a difference in your motivation and everything like that?
not really. I feel like so my sister was like a year and a half younger than me, and she wasn't paddling that much. And then my younger brother, who I live with now, and he's an awesome class 5 paddler these days, but he's like 6 years younger than me. So back then, it was you know he was
Uh,
way too young for me to hang out.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but yeah, so that wasn't any motivation. I think I don't know, dude. It was just that one day on the water, dude. It just like something clicked, man, and it was like this. Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't really describe why or what, but it was a complete addiction to it. And then, man, I started as I graduated high school, started into college. Then I started raft guiding because I saw one of my friends had raft guided, and he got like over one summer he got so much better at kayaking. I was like, okay, this is what I need to do to get better at this. This is what I want to do is get better. And then so I raft
Yeah.
guided for started raft guiding right after that, and I was able to paddle every single day, and you know have some money to
Where
feed
did you
myself.
start raft guiding?
You know, on the Youghiogheny River in Ohio, pal, Pennsylvania. So southern, yeah, southern
Nice.
Pennsylvania. I did 2 years there, and then again, I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm about as good as I can get here, and the people around me. I just was like, I need to find someone that's way better than me. You know, I need to find someone to chase. So I this is so
That's
funny.
cool. That's cool that you had that realization that early on.
Yeah, I don't
Like
know,
that,
man.
you know, that's like typical advice, right? Is you got to find someone who's better than you to pull you up, and you kind of have that instinct that you needed that.
Yeah, I don't know why, but yeah, it was just like, okay, I'm tapped out here and I need to move on. It was just the dude, it was just the desire to get better at this shit. And I saw this is so funny, dude. My buddy Jed Selby, who I'm still like almost brothers with to this day. I love that guy so much. But I saw he was in he was paddling for immersion research. Immersion research was, you know, they were in Confluence, Pennsylvania, which is where I was living as a raft guide. So I had a connection with them. I knew of immersion research. And I saw that Jed was one of their team athletes from like, I don't remember, it's one of the magazines. I don't remember what magazine he was in, but it was like Jed Selby doing this huge loop, like promoting a skirt for immersion research or something. I had a friend, sorry, this is a goddamn long story, but
It's
I
all
had a
good.
friend that was raft guide. One of my actually, I was living with him, dude. He was a good friend of mine that was raft guiding with in Pennsylvania. He had raft guided in Buena Vista, Colorado, and he was telling me about that area. He worked at a company called Buffalo Joe's, and I was like, okay, I got a place to make money, Buffalo Joe's. I got this dude, Jed Selby. He's a pro kayaker, badass, sponsored athlete. He also lives there. I'm going there. And so I fucking went to
Nice.
Colorado. So I went to Colorado,
Sweet.
dude. Yeah, to find work in Jed Selby. And so dude, I remember this is I don't know, this was like a really man, it just sticks in my brain so much. I remember I was in a Chevy Astra van, living in that. I was up in like just up in the hills away from the river, just outside of Buena Vista. I didn't have a job yet. I stopped at Buffalo Joe's. They said they didn't need any guides, and I'm laying in my van, man. I just remember this like it was yesterday. I'm laying in my van, looking up at the stars. I know nobody. I know no one in town. I have no fucking money. I probably have like maybe $1,000, and I just remember looking up, dude, and looking up at the sky and looking up at the stars, and just like missing friends and missing family, and just like wondering, I'm
Mm.
like, what the fuck am I doing, dude? And I remember having this like just empty feeling
Yeah.
in my stomach, you know, just like, God, you know, what am I doing here? And man, honestly, the next day I went to there was a play park in Buena Vista. I met Mark, who made your shirt. He was at the play park. I thought he was Jed because he was pretty damn good. And yeah, I became friends with Mark, and I was in the play park a bunch, and then I met Jed, and Jed and I just kind of like hit it off, and again to this day he's like one of my brothers. And then later that day, the two dudes that I had talked to at Buffalo Joe's to try to get a job, they came down to the play park and they were paddling. They were good freestyle paddlers too, but I was doing these. I was getting pretty good at this point, so I was doing these huge loops, dude, and huge air wheels and Space Godzillas and stuff. And they're like, "You're the dude that stopped by to like try to get a job earlier, right?" I was like, "Yeah, man." They're like, "All right, I think we got space for you." I was like, "Fuck yeah!"
Ah,
I got a friend
sick.
on the spot, and I have a job, you know. So that was
that's
that was a part of my
that's a
evolution.
oh sorry that yeah, that's a cool point though, that you had that moment of just kind of feeling like lonely and what am
Dude,
I doing? Because I think, you know, talking to a lot of people over the years, right? Like some people try that what you just did, and they hit that spot and they
yeah,
retreat back. You know, they
totally.
go back to home where the comfort is, and you kind of fought through that, which is kind of cool part of that story.
Dude, that spot wanted me to go home hard, dude. It really did. I was really close to putting my tail between my legs, and like, I don't know, I think it was partly just kind of like not knowing anyone, and you know, maybe being a little lonely and not having any goddamn money. And um yeah, just like, and again, I had like such a good crew in Pennsylvania from raft guiding there. I met so many cool people. That yeah, it was just like, fuck, should I go back? And I stayed, and then the shit worked out. But yeah, it is like, dude, nothing good, you know, nothing positive and good, and any growth comes from being comfortable. And like, you learn that over time though. I can say that shit all day, but pushing through those uncomfortable times is the best thing for you. And like, that's when you really accelerate in life, and um paddling
Totally.
and kind of everything, you know. But it's hard sometimes, for sure. Yeah. But it was an interesting time that I don't think I'll ever forget, honestly. It was such a shift in my life, you know. This like one fucking night. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
so
you had your job, you had a place to kayak, you had Jed Selby, who's a badass kayaker,
mhm.
help bring you up. So sounds like you're step one into like actualizing some of your goals there. What happens next?
Next, I so then I think maybe that, I can't remember if that winter before I might have been in Breckenridge snowmobile guiding the winter before that summer. Either way, I started snowmobile guiding in the winters in Breckenridge, Colorado, and that allowed me. Yes, yeah. So I raft. That's right. So I raft guided, and then I went and I was snowmobile guiding in Breckenridge, and I was actually killing it, dude. Doing that, I was making a lot of money, and I was living in. I had worked for the company the year before, and I didn't want to go back because they were kind of a shit show. But their like facility was like 2 miles down this like single lane road, like into the national forest, basically, or right on the edge of it.
Hmm.
And so they had like their all the snowmobiles, all the gear for the customers and all that stuff. It was all way the hell back there. And there was also this old mining cabin right beside it. And I wasn't going to go back, but they asked me to go back. And I asked if I could live in that mining hut for free, that I'd come back. Because I knew I would, if I didn't have to pay rent, I'd have money to kayak. That was the entire,
Yeah,
you know, that was the whole idea from from the start. And they're like, sure, we can do that. So I get there, dude,
sweet.
and this shit is like literally like an old ass log mining cabin. Just I was literally I walked in the door, I started stuffing newspaper in the cracks in the walls. I'm not even kidding. to like keep the air out. There was
Holy
it
shit.
was
That sounds
it,
cold.
it was fucking cold. It was hooked up to a like wired to a generator. So there was a generator that I could use that when I started it, there would be, I think there was 3 light bulbs and a radio that came on, and it was like, fuck, I don't know. It was like Breckenridge, the mountain or something, or some sick radio station that would come on reggae. They had like reggae hours and all this cool shit. So you go outside, you start the generator, you walk in, the shit lights up. The radio's always playing. Cooked food on the wood burner. There was a wood burner. You had to have. It was so cold there. I mean, you had to have the wood burner. I laid some carpet in the loft, which is where I slept, and yeah, I lived there for like 7 or 8 months. Snowmobile guiding. Ended up saving like almost 10 grand. And that allowed me to start
Nice.
competing, dude. It gave me, I raft guide and the dudes that I met in the play park earlier that year that gave me the job at Buffalo Joe's the raft guide. They were cool with me trying to compete. They're competing on the weekends. Well, that's also the busiest time to be a raft guide is on the weekends, right? But those guys,
Yeah, sure.
they helped me out so much, dude. They like gave me those days off to compete, and I had money to kind of like pay for the entry fees and shit. And then shortly after that, CKS, they saw how passionate and how much how much time I was putting on the water. So they put me on the CKS squad, which was discounts off of stuff at the store. The owner was good friends with Jim Hagar at the time, was the manager at Pyranha. And
Okay.
somewhere along the line, Jim was looking for a freestyle paddler for Pyranha. And that was fucking like 2006 or five or six. And I wasn't that I wasn't well actually I didn't know shit about Piranha back then at all. It was like Piranha was not in my
Hmm.
wheelhouse. But
What boat were you paddling?
dude, I was on Wave Sports kind of regional team at the time. So I was in a ZG.
Okay.
No, I was in a ZG, and then I was in a project for freestyle, and then a
Uh-huh.
diesel.
Yeah, I remember that boat. Yeah.
Yeah, and I loved the diesel. The project was good, but I didn't fit in it very well. Like I was in between sizes, so that was kind of a bitch, especially when I
Yeah.
eat. So I didn't know shit about Piranha's Creek boat, which was the Burn at the time, the Burn One, and um, yeah, I saw the 420 a little bit, which was the freestyle boat. The 420 was sweet because it fit me really well. I had good pop, like it.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like that boat. It fit me really well. And then the Burn, dude, I was like, I remember the first time I paddled the Burn was on the Upper Yock in Maryland, and I was like, fuck yeah. I was like, this is like a diesel with balls. I love that boat. I was so stoked with that. It was so good.
That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah. And like that kind of like started elevating my creek boating because the boat was so much more fun and so good. But yeah, that
Hmm.
was yeah. So that put me on the Piranha regional team. And then it just kind of elevated from there, man. Just ended up getting in the van and then traveling around for like 8 fucking years competing and trying to run all the creeks that we possibly could, man. So that's the whole thing, dude. Yeah, that's my whole elevation or evolution.
That's awesome. Sounds like you wanted it and you got it. And
Yeah, dude.
I actually remember something from Bailey Fest when you were out there a long time ago, and because I think you're talking to Ian Foley, who's the one that put that thing on at the time, and he told me that he was talking to you, and he said like man, Dave was telling me how he's just living the life that he's got he's wanted to kayak, he's gotten good at it, and now he can just like travel around and just like kayak all the time, and it's like exactly what he wanted to do, and now he's doing it. And I thought
Dude,
that was pretty cool message there. That's like just went for it and got it.
dude, I literally dreamed of it. Like actually dreamed of it. It was like I'd see these rivers and creeks and shit, like the Little White, the Trust. I'd see them in magazines and stuff, and I was like, how the hell am I gonna pull this off, man? It's like it's so far away. There's so much money to do this, and yeah, dude, I just kept my head down, man. And so many good friends and family were just like, dude, and some people in the industry too were just like, you can't make money kayaking. And like, I still don't make much money, but um I was able to pull it off, dude. But it was, yeah, it taught me that evolution to where I am now taught me so much, man. Like, you can actually do anything. You really can. And if you put your head down,
You can make if you can make money off kayaking, you can do anything, huh?
yeah, but if you put your head down, man, like it taught me that like I can actually do anything I want to do, and it just takes some effort and some discomfort. But that was such a
Yeah.
fucking huge life lesson, man, and still to this day it is. And yeah, I'm so glad that it's hard to say like how you know just push through that discomfort. And I don't know, dude. I think it was just I was just so driven, dude, and passionate to do it. Um, and yeah, so many people, dude, and it's like this, you hear this story all the time, but it is just all about pushing through and just like charging after what you want to do. And if you don't stop, it will happen.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that persistence.
Yeah.
So when you got the keys to the Pyranha van, you got the gas card. How long did you figure you'd be out there touring around in the van?
Dude, till the wheels came off.
Till the wheels came off. Nice answer. And how long did you end up touring around in that van?
8 years. But like,
damn, that's impressive.
300 plus thousand miles of just kayaking on that van.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And all kinds of kayaking lore got born out of that. The Demshitz crew, the Brown Claw.
Dude, I ended
all
up
this
like,
stuff.
Yeah, how the rest of it worked out is kind of a mystery to me, but like I ended up in the van with Jared and Graham Seiler. They're brothers, a couple years younger than me, and just like, God, they're like mythical creatures almost, dude. They're like they're just so fucking funny and just so chill. And Jared especially is such a charger in a kayak, man. He 100% made me the creek boater I am today. Like, he was
really
100%, dude, because he was just like so hell-bent on finding the gnarliest shit. And he had like studied, he had been watching, like, I didn't really watch many kayak videos when I was younger, and he had watched every goddamn one of them like 50 times. He'd seen someone run every drop that we had run back in the day, like, so not all of them, but so many runs. Or so many drops. And he's like, well, if that dude can do it, I can do it, And so Jared would always go first, man. And then he would, he'd do okay. And then usually I'd go second and clean because I saw what he did wrong,
Yeah.
But
can you think of an example of something that he pushed you through that you would have not done had he not been there?
Fuck, man, like, so much shit. So many runs. Like, Heath Springs, man. We were running the Royal Gorge. It was like I don't know, dude. I don't think Heath Springs 1 or 2 had been run more than 5 to 10 times, maybe. It's a 40-footer, super clean, 50-footer right after that. But none of us had seen. We were all from Pennsylvania. None of us had seen a waterfall that tall. I didn't see like anywhere near runnable waterfall that tall in my life ever. And
wow,
we're
first intro into it.
Yeah, we're looking at this like perfectly beautiful 40-footer, and I'm like, God, nothing looks. I mean, it all looks good. And Jared's gonna go first, which is comforting. I never gave a shit about first descents, and I still don't. I have a few of them, but I just don't care. It's like, whatever. I was like, you go first. I want to see how you do, But yeah, I mean, like, that whole run, that was an epic run too. We bombed off both those waterfalls, and then we ended up eventually getting back east later that year. I remember being at Golly Fest and having multiple older paddlers. I can't remember specifically who they were, but not believing us that we ran Heath 1 and Heath 2, And I was like, no, I think this, was like, looks like this. Then there's like a little bit of flat water, and then there's this. And I'm like, yeah, fucking ran. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Don't believe me. I don't care.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, we were really early on a lot of, this. I don't know if I feel like you know, the Piranha Van and the Demshitz crew, I feel like we helped normalize big waterfalls. Um, I think our personalities were a big part of that. It was like we're just like extremely chill. The Demshitz vibe is everyone's welcome, everyone's invited. Let's go, man. Let's have fun. And I think that um,
Yeah.
people seeing us, and we're making videos all the time. And I think that people seeing these,
Mhm.
what seem to be average Joes, me, Jared, and Graham, flying off these huge waterfalls, uh, allowed other people to think, man, I think I can do this too. And I think that it really helped boost that that big waterfall game that now, like, people are flying off big drops all the time, dude, all the time.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think because I started kayaking, like mid 2000s, like the knots, whatever you call them. And so I was aware, I was starting to look at some of the media and I was aware of the dim shit stuff. And like, I think
Yeah,
one of the things that was kind of unique too, though, is you kind of had some of the old school paddlers that were, like Doug Amons and these guys that were super serious
totally.
and, and all philosophical and everything, which is cool. I know they did great stuff. They're kind of before my time, but I know they were heroes to a lot of people. But then like, I thought you guys came along and were like, hey, this is about having fun. Like you can be an amazing kayaker, you can be responsible, you can run this stuff clean, and you cannot take yourself too seriously, which I thought was kind of like really something that was unique that your crew kind of brought into the world of kayaking and people. I think that has permeated the culture like to this day. I think that people look at kayaking culture differently because of that.
Well, that's amazing to hear, man. Like I don't know if that's true, but I know that that is our vibe 100%, and it was we always said that, man. It's like we're just here to have a good time and yeah, enjoy these days on the water. I think we were just all, we were just so grateful to be doing it, man. It's like we're stoked as fuck. Like let's have a great time, and I don't know, and that's just also it's just our personality. It's just like Jared Graham and I are not that serious. It's like when we're on the water,
If anyone's seen the videos, they know.
you know, it, life is too
I feel
short to.
like every time I see some little clip of Jared, that dude cracks me up every time he opens his mouth. Like that guy must be the
He
funniest
is
guy to hang
so
out with.
goddamn funny, and Graham's even funnier, man. And like I was
Yeah.
like, I think that I was a good balance point for all that. It's like, all right, we got to kind of keep it together a little bit. We got to get to the next event. We could like surfing some dude's couch for like too long and miss the next event, just like hanging out there, paddling whatever's local, and just like hanging out and drinking beers and enjoying wherever we were. But yeah, man, if that permeated through the whole goddamn community, then I think that's a good thing, man. It's really cool. We did really, we really wanted that to be a part of us, though. Is like we saw the other videos and like other crews and stuff like pro kayaking, like trying to act like it's, I don't know, like super serious or like you're making a bunch of money or all this shit. And we're like, no, not really. It was like we're living in a fucking van, sleeping on the ground every night, like trying to have fun. Like just all literally just for the love. Like that is it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. So let's get into some of the carnage because there was, if anyone's read the Kayak Session magazine, or as we alluded to at the beginning of this thing, there were some arrests that went on. There were some things that went south, and you said the Missoula arrest was probably the one of the crazier ones. You want to tell that story?
Yeah, that was crazy as hell. Yeah, we were this was early on, man. This might have been, so I was in the van starting in 2007 and then 8 years after that. I think this was probably 2008, 2007 or 2008. We didn't know anyone. No one knew us. They saw we were basically at the play park in Missoula, and a couple local paddlers. They like saw the Piranha van, like, oh, dude, Team Piranha, how you guys? What's up? Where you guys staying? What are you doing tonight? We're like, we don't. we live in that van, and we generally don't have plans. And so this dude was like, well, you can crash at my place, dude. We can cook out and stuff. Like, you're welcome to hang there. I'm like, that sounds great. Let's do it. You know, and that happened all the time, dude. That happened all the time. The amount of random houses
awesome.
and couches that I ended up on those 8 years is like, I always say it. I was like, I can never give back enough, man. I had so many people helped us out, helped me out, giving me a place to stay, giving me a place to park the van, even all that stuff. I'm so grateful for. But
you probably learned more about like human psychology and sociology in America than like, you know, 1,000 PhDs at Harvard or something would give you.
There's a good chance. But so this dude's like, yeah, come over to the house. We're like, cool. We go over to the house. We cook out. We're chilling there. Wake up in the morning. We're like, it's probably 11 o'clock. We're like hanging out. I think we're smoking a little bit of weed or something, a little bit high. And we hear, I hear like this knocking on the door, like, doo, 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 doo. Like, what is going on? You know? And then I hear it again. They're like, they were like, open the door, get down on the ground or something like that. I'm like, what the hell? I thought it was his buddy fucking with us. My first thought. There was another dude with, we saw at the play park. I was like, that's so-and-so, you know, just fucking with us. And so I'm all casual as hell, right. Shirt off, board shorts, hair everywhere probably. And I like walk around the corner of the front door, and there's literally what appears to be a machine gun like 6 inches from my nose, and it's the DEA. And he's screaming.
Shit. Holy shit.
Yeah. He's screaming at my face, get down on the ground. And I'm just like, whoa, dude, I was in complete shock. Almost shit my pants. I'm not even kidding. And so I like put my arms up and I like slowly step back a little bit because I'm like, honestly, like I'm confused as to what's happening, you know? And then he's like, get on the ground. And I'm just, again, so then he helps to escort me down to the ground by grabbing me by the hair and like slamming me to the tile floor, jumping, you know, aerial knee to the middle of the back, handcuffed behind the back.
That's like something out of a movie.
Dude, it was exactly out of a movie. It was so crazy. And I'm handcuffed. Then they handcuffed me, grab me, like pull my arms up behind pull my arms way up. I'm like, oh, gee, you know, it's kind of brutal. And then take me outside and lean me against the fence. And, dude, that all happened like that fast. The way I just told the story, it happened that fast. So I'm just like leaning against this fence, trying to process what the fuck just happened. I was like, what in the hell is going on here? And then next comes out Graham, handcuffed. And then next comes out Jared, handcuffed. And as I mentioned in the kayak session, Jared leans against what appears to be the fence, but it was actually the gate doorway to get into the backyard fenced area, and it was open. So he like leans against it, and then it just like opens, and he like rolls into the backyard, this yard, and there's sprinklers on, and just like blasting him with water and shit. It was so funny. That was so funny because like, you know, just like our discussion of not being that serious or taking life that serious. Even the cops were laughing at that point. Like, I'm laughing my ass off. Like, Jared's on his like head, basically laughing. But yeah, and then
Demshitz broke through the DEA, even, huh?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we tried to sell him a kayak off the roof while we were handcuffed. It was awesome.
You're explaining what you were doing. It was like, hey, you guys want to learn?
Yeah, like, we could sell you this one, man. Like, how about unhandcuffing me? Just bribe.
So did they grab anyone else from the house, or was it just you guys?
It was us three handcuffed outside, and then the dude that we met and that owned the house and we were living in, he was gone. They took him away. So we're like, they're interrogating the hell out of us. They're thinking we're moving drugs like west to east, I guess, I think. But we're like, dude, we met this guy yesterday, and they wouldn't believe anything we said. Like they were like, oh, really? You know, they just like, I'm
Yeah.
like actually,
That's what
yeah.
they all say, right? Yeah.
Why are you at their house? I'm like, we don't live. We're traveling around kayaking. You know, they would not. They just the cops would not buy it. So they interrogated the shit out of all three of us. Eventually, our stories all lined up. They found a little weed in the van. They took that, and then they took our computer, which was what we were editing with. All those old videos it was like we had one computer and one camera,
Oh,
and
man.
I was like, dude, if what we do is called work, we need that for it. And so, dude,
did they release it back to you?
it took a couple of days, but they were like going through it to see if I guess there was any other evidence of us not being drug dealers or something on there. And so we ended up getting that back, which was great. And the show did go on, but yeah, dude, it was crazy. After they unhandcuff us, the dude is gone that we're staying with. They just left the house wide open. There's shit everywhere. They like destroyed his house. And so we're just like all of a sudden I was like, is this our house now? Like, do we live here? Like the dude is in jail. The doors were
yeah.
It's like, should we just stay again tonight?
Put in a hot tub maybe.
Yeah. Like, is this our house now? Like this kind of might work out actually. But we ended up
that is a crazy ass
not
story.
squatting and cruising on down the road. But that was so insane, dude. It was like when you said it was off a movie, it was just like a scene in a movie, man. It was crazy. Dude, life on the road, man. You see some weird shit. End up in some weird situations. Yeah. Yeah. That was the most memorable one, man. Honestly, there's like probably 1,000 more that I can't think of, but that one sticks out, dude.
Yeah, that's pretty high up there.
Yeah.
What? I gotta ask you about the sea kayak in the green race, because this is something that's stuck in my mind. I mean, people have done some cool stuff on the green, but I remember seeing this video of you taking this like legit full on sea kayak down the green, which seems like one of the worst courses, and racing it for a big ass boat like that. So how did that come about? How did it go?
Well, for one, that boat is like, I wouldn't call it I'd call it a hybrid sea kayak. So it has
okay,
a flat.
So I'm exaggerating.
Yeah, it didn't have like a general sea kayak shape where it's like like super pointed in the middle and in the back. Like it had like rocker in the front. It was dead flat hull. There was no stern rocker at all, but it was like 13 and a half or 14 feet long and heavy as hell. But we didn't have Piranha. I think we just came out with that. I'm pretty sure we just came out with that boat, and its purpose was to be like a surf sea kayak / rock garden boat. So, kind of cruising through rocks or surfing waves and stuff like that. Which
makes sense. Yeah, awesome. I've kind of done that before, which is fun.
Super. Yeah. But yeah, we didn't have a long boat. I wasn't trying to paddle a dagger boat or whatever the hell else. A stinger, I think, would have been the other option. I was like, I'll just paddle this goddamn sea kayak. Yeah, dude. So I just I was really nervous the first time I took it down, honestly. And then I think after my second lap, I was like, actually, this is pretty goddamn fun. I was like starting to kind of dial it pretty well. But
wow.
Yeah, basically it was because we didn't have a longboat and I didn't want to use another brand's boat. And I was like, this thing might be all right. I doubt I did very good in that race because I don't think I've ever done good at green race, but it was fun, dude. I did have fun in it. I got a couple laps and then I broke it, which I knew was coming because again, it had like no stern rocker at all. It was like a surf boat in a sea kayak, with rocker and heavy.
That seems pretty damn burly for the green race.
Yeah,
it reminds me of a gore race one time when some guy brought, I don't know what kind of sea kayak it was, but it was definitely a sea kayak, and I remember watching it or go down tunnel, and it was like it basically pinned going over tunnel. Like it was so long that the entire boat just like the bow just sunk down and like hit some rock, and he was just stuck there like in the middle of the drop, and he's trying to figure out how to get off. But it was and
I can see
gory, like you could kind of see taking a sea kayak down that, but
I can see taking a sea
that
kayak
part
down
didn't work.
there. Yeah, I just did and like it's obviously a lot steeper than the Grand Canyon, but that's my actual sea kayak is my Grand Canyon boat of choice, which I did earlier this year. I
Yeah,
was on the Grand Canyon over Thanksgiving. It was cool, but we have
that's sweet.
P&H's Piranha's sea kayak line, and we have it's called the Virgo, but it's kind of an all arounder. That's yeah, it's really good for all that. But yeah, if you're doing a Grand Canyon self support, take a fucking sea kayak. It is the way.
All right, all right. I'm making a note of it.
Yeah, write that down, everyone.
Well, speaking of recent times, you said you recently had a pretty fun, notable trip down in Cali, down the Upper Cherry. You want to tell us a little bit about how that went down?
Yeah, man. Man, I've done. I think this was my fourth trip down Upper Cherry, maybe fifth. Either way, I had done a really low water run, a like medium low water run, which I think is the ideal flow, and then like two super high volume runs, which are fucking terrifying. I almost died on one of them and was scared as shit on the other one.
Yeah.
Upper Cherry at high flow is terrifying. So man,
Yeah,
it was this past summer. It was looking like it was coming into the flow. I had to go down to California for a delivery for Piranha, I think. So this shit was all lining up. My brother was off for the summer, and he had never been down it, and it's one of my favorite places in the world, dude. It is just so cool, man. It's just a granite, this beautiful granite landscape, and like all the drops. The whole river is so much fun, man. All the drops are amazing. I was super excited. It was my first overnighter in the Scorch X, and I was super excited to get that in there, dude, because I knew those low angle slides and all those other drops that the boat would just crush that shit. And so I was super stoked about it. And then my brother was going to come, so I was like also really excited to show him this place. Um, we did a different hike in that than I had done before, which is generally hiking up river left. You hike like 11 miles to the put in. There's another way you can kind of cut across and go over West Cherry and then up over this ridge. So you miss like a couple miles of like really low angle scrapey shit, but it puts you like right at the top of the really when it starts to tighten up, and you know the flow starts to really look good. But so we did the West Cherry hike over, dude, and like man, you get I think it's a lot shorter, but it's pretty steep. So it's like I don't know which way is easier. I think I'd probably do the West Cherry one again. But dude, the coolest part is you cross West Cherry, you start hiking up like the only place that looks like you can hike up. It's like this huge bowled out granite dome. It's like, all right, we can get on the ridge that way. It's like that looks obvious. But dude, you get up on that ridge, man, and you are on this ridge looking upstream, and you look to your right is Upper Cherry, and it's just granite, dude. Just like layers of like trippy looking granite, man. And then to the left, you're looking at like West Cherry, which has like a little more trees and shit to it. But dude, that view from that ridge was like worth a hike in itself. It was so cool. So I was really stoked on that. But then as you drop down off that ridge into Upper Cherry, it's just like Manzanita hell, dude. Just I mean, the thing was the shit is like so thick that your boat pretty much stays on top of the bushes, and you can just like fucking I just the bushes and like down a bunch of
it's like a sled.
I don't yeah, totally. I don't know if I can all the whole way down into Upper Cherry, but we got there. Yeah, man, probably had a little bit of whiskey or something, and just relaxed, stretched on the rocks. It was just a beautiful day, and the water looked kind of low to me from there, but it's kind of hard to tell. It's hard to get that run, let alone five times in 15 years or something. But
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we wake up. I'm like, I'm sure it'll be fine. We wake up and start paddling down. I'm like, oh, this is great. It was probably medium low, which again is I think the nicest, most fun flow
Nice.
out. But yeah, it was so special to show my brother that place because again, it's like it's a magical place and so unique and such an insane experience to have. So to share it with my younger brother was just like it just made it that much cooler. And I was the only one that had been down it. I was with three other people that hadn't. So yeah, it was a great run. That was like my most memorable whitewater trip from this past season, I think. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's pretty
it
sweet
was
to be
it
able
was
to
great.
share like
It was
a new place with somebody like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so cool, and I was so excited to get the X in there, and man, it performed just like I'd hoped, and dude, it was fucking awesome, just skipping and ripping down that river, man. It was great. It was awesome. Helped helped with the lake paddle out too, and the gear. It's nice
Oh,
packing that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't bad carrying it either. It's a
Yeah.
little heavier, but I always say this: Anna Wagner carries the 9R in there, and she's like 5 foot tall. I'm 6 foot tall, carrying a 10 foot boat.
You can't. Yeah, you have no business complaining. She can do
No, no, it wasn't bad. I had the backpack
it.
system, just like have it up a little bit higher so your heels aren't clicking. And yeah, my brother
Yeah.
also had
Right.
an. We were stoked, man. It was so fun. Yeah,
That's cool. That sounds like an awesome trip.
yeah,
Well, let's get into the Scorch X a little bit because you played a pretty prominent role in the design of that boat and the inception of it. And I I haven't I haven't paddled it myself, but I actually just got it just kind of landed in my lap. I hadn't paddled Piranha Creek boats for a long time. My first boat was an M3, but that broke pretty
oh, yeah,
quickly, and
yeah,
I hadn't touched Piranha Creek boats since then. Well, I got the Ripper, the original Ripper, and that thing was
yeah,
like revolutionized my boating. I was like, this thing is so fun, and it got
yeah,
my eye on Piranha again because I was like, man,
yeah,
if this is how Piranha boats are. I got to start getting some more of these boats. But yeah,
yeah,
I kind of had a cheap Scorch land in my lap. It's the medium Scorch, and I
yeah.
got injured last year, so I kind of haven't paddled it much. But I paddled it a little bit. I haven't really gotten the feel of it. But everyone I know that's paddled the Scorch X, and there's a lot of them you see around in Colorado and everywhere now. But they talk about it like it's not just like, oh, this is a better version of a code, or this is a better, like this is. They're like, this is a different type of boat than I've ever paddled. That it's
So
like
much.
just a new style, a new feel, like something they've never paddled before, and like universally, everybody loves them. I mean, I haven't heard anyone say anything bad about it. We did an Idaho trip. A bunch of people brought Scorches, freaking
Yeah,
packed that thing to the gills, and we're just
totally.
loving it. Um, so yeah, man, tell me about like how this got into your head and how you kind of worked out the design with the designers at Piranha.
Yeah, dude. I think that really, man, I'd been asking for like a 10 foot big rocker creek boat for like 4 years straight. I wanted more rocker than we're seeing because I thought we could push it further than we had, but I knew at like our standard 9 foot length, the amount of rocker that I wanted, the boat would not perform like I wanted. It would be slow and it would be really turny. So I was like, why don't we just make it 10 feet long? It's like, dude, people have first ascended all the shit and shit that's 10 feet at least or longer. Not all the shit, but a lot of stuff
Yeah,
that is
that's
generally
true.
was paddled in a Diablo or some shit with no rocker at 10 feet or longer. So I was like, there's no reason why we can't do this. Plus, a lot of one thing that was really in my head was skis. I ski quite a bit. And I remember riding these. They were like kick rocker twin tip skis, and they felt like snow blades, dude. You ever ride snow blades with stupid ass
Mm-hmm.
short skis? I,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I mean, I used those like I don't know, it was a long time ago, but I still remembered how they felt. And I was like, these skis with all this kick rocker, they feel like fucking snow blades with tips on the end that keep you above the snow. And it was like stupid easy to use them. I was like, that's what the kayak will do.
Uh-huh.
You know, just add the rocker and you shrink the water line. The boat's still going to turn super easy and be really
Yeah,
maneuverable.
because I think someone told me that the Scorch X is like compared to the medium Scorch, it has even less or similar actual water
Water.
line, like the length of the water line in the body?
I don't know
Is that
that
true?
for. I don't know that for a fact, but I wouldn't be surprised. And those two boats are like really pretty much the same width as well, the medium and the X. I didn't want something super wide.
Okay.
But yeah, dude, I just like the main vision was like, obviously I live in white salmon and run the little white a lot in the truss. And like the vision was to be able to, like skip out of these drops and keep speed right into the next drop because
Yeah.
it's pretty stacked. And dude, that boat out on those runs is fucking amazing. It's so fun. But yeah, it worked out, man. Like, so it's just like, I wanted more rocker than we had seen. And from my point of view, the boat had to be longer to get that amount of rocker. I didn't want to get my face wet, dude. I'm like, I'm 42 years old, man. I'm not trying to get my face wet out here in this class 5 shit.
Keep the water out of my nose.
Yeah, exactly. And then, yeah, I do. The front of it was pretty damn easy. It's like, all right, you just like make rocker, and the stern is more tricky. Basically, like tapering it from the paddler back to the end of the stern. I think of it a lot like a freestyle kayak, and like if you look at that, the stern's kind of like if you put the boat on edge and you rock it up on the stern, that can kind of give you an idea of how it's going to like air out to do an air blunt or something like that. And you can think the same way in a creek boat. If you put the creek boat on edge and you rock it back onto the stern, you can imagine how much you can pull the bow up higher if you're doing our new school style of boofing, where it's just kind of like a double pump off of shit. And for that kind of a length, I knew we couldn't have that much volume back there, and that it would have to taper quite a bit. So yeah, and we pushed the bow rocker a little higher than I even thought we would, but it worked out great. And then yeah, we just tweaked the stern a little bit from the other Scorch sizes. They have like the edge kind of drags out right to the stern. I thought if we did that on the X, we would lose some, maneuverability. It would lock in place and kind of go more straight than we wanted. So we kind of rolled those edges in at the end of the stern, which if you flip those two boats over, it's pretty obvious. But yeah, the stern is a good bit different than the other designs. But yeah, dude, it worked out like amazingly. It was a dream boat for me. And again, I squeaky wheeled. I just kept asking for it and asking for it.
You mentioned that you didn't want to make the boat too wide. Like what's the philosophy on boat width? Because I've noticed piranha boats tend to be a little narrower than your average boat out there.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like just like generally paddling. I mean, and I guess the boat doesn't have to be wide where your paddle hits, but a lot of times they are. Being able to have a nice vertical paddle stroke, the like super wide knees to me just like feels kind of funky, and then it's also going to be harder to go edge to edge. Like, and my paddling style is edge to edge. I'm like on edge to the next edge, one edge to the next edge, lean over, pull the bow, these stern sinks, fly over shit. And if the boat's super wide, then it's just harder to do that. And like, I obviously don't have a problem rolling, but obviously the wider it is, the harder it is gonna be to roll. But I think mainly for me, it's the edge to edge quick transition. And again, that just kind of fits my style.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah, that's what I think. That's one of the things I noticed in the Ripper, that it's just like so quick edge to edge. It made it really fun. But and that makes me. I mean, I'm curious. But this is my perception. I'm curious if you think this is accurate or not, because my experience with piranhas, they kind of go for. I feel like they're kind of building boats to the advanced paddler, which isn't to say that the beginners can't take a piranha boat and have a good time in it, but I feel like I know Jackson for a long time was like, I think, maybe they've broken away from this a little bit, but for a long time, they're like, we're not going to build a boat that's not like great for, your class 2-3 boater that can get in and feel stable and roll it easily. But I think there's always compromises. And from what I can tell, especially starting kind of with the 9R and going from there, it seems like Piranha is always trying to build a boat that doesn't compromise the ability for an advanced paddler to take like the most possible advantage of that boat.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that's true? Is that something that's kind of built into the philosophy, or do you guys think about that?
Man, we all push for that because that's what we want to paddle, we have had definitely softer, easier designs like the Machno. That boat still, I mean, it's fading out.
That's
We're
true.
kind of like wringing that one out. It's kind of the end of its life, but that boat was like it was fun and really easy to paddle. The Shiva was before that. It was like a really round boat. I hated that goddamn boat. It was just like boring. Um, but I, from my perspective through the years, most times that if we don't make a boat that like the team wants to paddle and really enjoys paddling, it doesn't sell that well usually. And it's just because we're not excited about it. And like that energy and that, that media and all that just kind of like moves down the line. I mean, but I think in general, yeah, I don't know. I think it's hard to hit that mark, dude, where it's like pretty forgiving, but also I'm gonna have a really good time paddling it. But I think the Scorch lands there pretty damn well, man. I really do. But we've had other, like I said,
Yeah.
the mock note on the other end of that. Like, um, yeah. But yeah, Jackson boats in general are more forgiving. They're like wider and softer. So they have their place. But yeah, dude, I mean, fuck, man. I mean, Piranha's still owned by the same guy, dude. It's like we are as core for kayaking as it comes. Like, we seem to be a big company, but we're not. It's like I run the whole West Coast. Me, I do everything.
Yeah.
It's still not, it's kayaking, so it's not a ton of work. I'm not busting my balls. I'm not trying to say that. At times I do. It's like work for 4 days
Yeah.
straight
No, I
and
hear
then
you.
like 6, 7. But yeah, it's a super core company, man. And what I really love about him, dude, is like, for one, like I said, I can talk to the owner. I can call him. Graham's amazing. My boss is one of my best friends. He was on the U.S. freestyle team with me. He's Mike Patterson. He's amazing, man.
That's awesome.
So it's just like it's such a family, and we're like such, we're more and more on the same page. And I'm not exactly sure where I'm going with this, but I'm grateful to be in this position with those guys. But I think it shows. I guess my point is that I think that our passion and us all being paddlers shows through in our boat designs, and especially more in the
Mm-hmm.
last 5 to 8 years when we've kind of like, I feel like we've just been getting more and more from the UK to the US. I feel like we've been getting more and more on the same page and understanding as what we want out of these new designs, man. And I think they've all been bangers, man. Like we've had some awesome designs recently. It's just like, and we have another awesome one coming out in the ReactoR, dude. I'm super excited about that. And if that
Yeah.
boat gets me out X,
Tell
if
me,
you see
tell me about it.
boat,
Let's hear it.
what's that?
Oh, I said, well, finish your thought, but I said, I want to hear about the ReactoR. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I was just saying if I'm excited about that boat, and if I was saying if that thing gets me out of the X, I'm gonna be impressed because I love the X. But I've paddled the prototype. Dude, I think the initial kind of concept for this boat was a lot of my idea, but this boat to me has been the best conglomeration of US to UK that we've had yet. Like we've been working together so well. A lot of times it's like the US wants one thing, the UK wants something else. You know what I mean? They're like, well, our rivers aren't
Mm-hmm.
they're not as big as your rivers, and they're not this, and they're not that, and we need something for a play park.
Makes
You know what I mean?
sense. Yeah.
Different environments. But on this boat, it just seems like it's just been like melting together really well. So I think I look for this thing to be a huge hit, man. Yeah, I'm
So
excited about
what's the philosophy on this boat? You said in kayak session, I think it's a 3/4 slice. I didn't know which was a
You know
quarter
what
and which was the three
I think
quarter.
I think I should have said a quarter slice.
Quarter slice. Okay.
So like
so
a
so
quarter.
3/4 creek boat and a quarter slice.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting.
So
So it sounds kind of like that Zet Ninja looks a little bit like that. Is that the
people,
same kind of idea?
I think it is similar, man. I saw that boat and it looked like almost more of a half slice to me than this boat. that we're working on. But I think the concepts are all similar. Man, I was like, it was crazy. I had this idea in my head about, putting the boat on edge, being able to dip the stern. And I was thinking about like the puffy stees more so. And I've paddled that boat a little bit by Waka. And I was like, well, what if that
Mm-hmm.
boat, you put it on edge and you have that nice, fun, sporty feel of the stern. What if you put it on edge and instead of just like back endering, you hit a volume pod and squirt and like pogo out, And I was like,
Yeah,
fuck,
yeah.
why would, And then I thought this was just like this brainchild that I had. And then I saw the horny potato. You see that thing?
Oh, yeah, I have seen that boat. Yeah, it's the worst name for a boat ever, but yeah.
Is that Letman or I can't remember.
Letman, yep. It's
Yeah.
Letman.
Yeah, and I was like, "Fuck, that's what I was just the concept I thought I invented." But I had been like talking, I'd been like, talking with
Well,
Pyranha about
you
this.
got your phone taps by the Germans, man.
Yeah, and yes, we'll get you Fusilli. But yeah, so I saw that boat and I was like, dude, that's the concept I'd been thinking of. Like their overall shape. I'm not trying to knock them or anything, but their overall shape wasn't like the cleanest in my viewpoint or exactly what I was thinking, but the general concept was what I was thinking. Um, so the idea, you know, we were kind of talking about the evolution of freestyle and then the evolution of creeking. And I'd say that the two are kind of melting together a bit, right now. And it's so cool to
Mm-hmm.
see. It's so
Makes
cool to
sense.
see more, it's like, what are you going to do? No, kayak design is done. Like, probably not, it's like, someone's going to get high and think it's something else, man. Like, we're going to figure something else out.
Yeah, that sounds like a super cool concept. I'm pretty interested to see what that looks like. And I
Yeah.
like the. I mean, I have a feeling that Piranha can probably put a better spin on it than Letman. I mean, I don't know. I haven't actually. I shouldn't say anything because I haven't paddled any Letman kayaks ever. They just always look a little bit. They're a little bit. They're kind of like all those European designs. They're always except for Zet, which seems more normal. There was a little bit out of the norm or something. Like
Yeah.
I guess Piranha's European too. I'm saying it wrong, but like I feel like you
Yeah.
see the Letman, the Prions and stuff. There's always something a little bit weird about their designs. They're going for something different.
Dude, I think it was like the Letman Granite, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that was the bigger. I don't know. There's one of their creek boats that people were pretty stoked on, but I think it generally had like a bit more rocker, but it was like super round hauled, which I'm just not a fan of that. But I know a lot of people that liked it. But no, I think this new concept, dude, it's gonna be really cool, man. I think it's gonna give you that like real loose, fun, playful stern. Also, it's gonna be really fun to surf. And like I do think you're gonna be able to put it on edge and like dip the stern in and like hit that volume and kind of like pogo spring out of stuff. I think it's just gonna be
Hmm.
like I think it's gonna be super easy, but also really, really fun. I think it's gonna hit that mark where I really love the boat,
Hmm.
and class 3 paddler is gonna really enjoy it as well. And I
Yeah.
think that yeah, we've like widened the stern out a lot, which is going to keep surface area from when you're like planing out. If you can imagine, the bow goes up, the stern goes into the water. But if the stern has more surface area, so if it's wider, it's not going to sink in. It's going to shoot you straight out, because there's
Hmm.
just more surface.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big part of that stern. Um, and like I was explaining before, where the X was tapered to get that rockability, to get the bow up, this boat is not tapered as
Mm-hmm.
much, but we're taking the volume out so the stern slices and the bow
Hmm.
comes up.
Interesting. Yeah.
You know
So
what
it's a
I'm saying?
different approach to getting the same effect.
Yes, but I think overall it will become more stable and controlled, especially planing out, because again, that stern's wider. Um, and man, I mean, it could be as fast as the X. I don't know. We'll see, because it doesn't need as much stern rocker either. Um, yeah, well, no, it has quite a bit. I take that back. Yeah. But yeah, I look forward to it, man. We have new outfitting coming too, which I can't say much about,
Oh,
but
cool.
should be good. Yeah, it's gonna be a banger, man.
Well, some things to
I've
look.
been telling all my stores
Yeah,
to
some
order a
things to look
bunch. I was
forward
like,
to.
we're gonna sell this thing, or it's gonna sell itself. That's what
Nice.
they do.
Well, you alluded to it a little bit before, but like how, I was kind of, we were kind of talking a little bit before we got on air, but with like, I feel like with freestyle boats, it's very apparent how you bring in this new design that's short and it's got more volume around your knees and everything, and all of a sudden it's opened up this whole world of freestyle to aerial tricks and stuff that never existed before, and paddlers start just paddling all kinds of different stuff and inventing new ways to paddle in freestyle. And I think the same thing has happened when it comes to river running and creek boating, but it's not as obvious to people watching kind of what those changes are. And you kind of mentioned how the booth style, for instance, has
Yeah.
changed from, say, 15, 20 years ago, how you used to booth. Now you're doing something different, largely because of the rocker in these boats. Can you
Hmm.
kind of describe how paddling style has changed over the last couple of decades because of the evolution of these boat designs?
Yeah, man. I think that trying to think of like how I think, dude, I feel like really started seeing Eniol like really putting his boat on edge and pulling the bow up and like basically double pumping. I mean, if you guys have done freestyle, you know, to get the boat in a bow stall, it's a double pump. You pull, then you push the bow down. And yeah, I don't, I'm not, I feel like I said, I feel like I saw Aniol really putting the boat on edge and doing that first. But it's just like, and I think the boats are now designed for that style because it feels really good. It's less effort once you figure it out, and you can just kind of like keep your speed even better. Um, but yeah, I would say
Mm,
overall, it's like basically it's the boof style has changed a lot. It's like getting the boat hard on edge and like pushing the bow down a little bit and then pulling it up in the air. And so now our boat designs are starting to evolve to accommodate that new style of paddling. Um,
mm,
and it's easier, you know, it's more fun, like ear dipping,
for
all this
sure.
stuff is like really cool. I think so much of that was annual, um, but yeah, I think it's just like paddler style changing the design of the boats more so than the other way around, you know.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of that is really paddling on edge more period than just instead of just being
Yeah,
on a flat hull most of the time.
yeah, totally. And edge itself is like I've always been a fan of edge. Like I said, the first time I got in the burn, I was like I always loved I love the diesel, dude, because it had an edge. I just like love that engagement and that control that you have. You know, it makes it like a tiny bit harder to paddle, I guess, than like a round boat, but it's like the reward, you know, the feedback you get from the boat is so much better, and I don't think we'll go back from that ever. You know, we I think that Piranha has had like flat hull hard edged boats for a long time now. We started to fade away from that a little bit. I think because our boats were like, I'm thinking like, you know, like Burn 2 in the Shiva, we're like, we need to make something a little bit softer. And like I said, I hated that boat. It was just like boring to paddle. It was just like felt like a bobber to me. I didn't have that sporty, fun, carvy feeling. And I think that
Hmm.
the whole, you know, in that time frame, I think we made the Shiva because I think it was the Nomad was just selling so well at that point. It sold
Mm.
for like 5 years, dude. Nomad, Nomad, Nomad. We're like, we got him to make a Nomad. I'm like, fuck the Nomad, dude. Like that thing is no fun to paddle. Like I'd paddled one before. I was like, please
Yeah.
don't. And we did, and
I mean, I
now
used to paddle a Nomad, and I used to paddle a
totally,
Nomad, and you're right, like it was very predictable, and I think that's why people loved them. But once you start
yeah,
paddling some of the modern boats, you're like, whoa, this can be so
it's
much
just
more fun, and
yeah,
you
dude.
can get the same. I think if you know how to paddle them, you can still paddle the same kind of stuff with them, and even more so, right? Like they have more capabilities.
Yeah, and it's just way more of a fun experience, and I think that you know from that evolution to now that you know everyone's figured out that you need a nice edge on the kayak to like really make it a fun ride, dude. Like sure you can
Hmm.
learn in the Machno and stuff, and like the Machno for me, like when we first had it, when it came out, I really enjoyed it because it would like I could like be sideways up to a drop and like fling the thing forward, like it would just like do these crazy windshield wiper flying boofs and shit like that because it was just like so I guess, loose on the top of the water. But then I would like, I really enjoyed it. But 6 to 8 months later, I was kind of like, it's kind of slow and like I don't have that nice carby feel, and I was kind of over it. Whereas like, you know, I've had the X for a couple of years now, and dude, it is so fun every single time. And I think that most companies and brands have kind of like figured that out, dude. It's like, and it also doesn't have to be that hard. I can run class 3 in the X and have a great time because I've got speed, and the carvability in and out of eddies makes it fun, you know?
Right. Yeah, that's cool. Well, that's some great info. I'm looking forward to checking out that reactor. It sounds like an interesting concept.
Yeah, me too, dude. I can't wait to see the final one.
I guess, yeah, one more little piece of gear talk, because you mentioned beforehand that you got an Astral jacket that you're excited about that's coming out. What's going on with
Yeah, I
that?
mean, yeah, yeah, dude. Again, I'm honored that they asked me to do a custom, a limited edition jacket for this coming season. I don't think I can talk that much about it, but it's going to come out in September. And I had one of my. It's really cool because my friend Meg Smith, her and I go way back um, to my days of raft guiding in Ohio Pal. She's from Pennsylvania as well, so I met her back in those days. You know, this is like 2005. So she has seen my entire evolution as a paddler. And you know, we're still in good contact these days. So to have her as an artist, to have someone that I appreciate so much and love her art so much, and for that person to know so much about me and my evolution, I think it just kind of like really came together to make this like really really cool jacket, man. And of course, I'll obviously there's some purple in it, but that's about as far as I think I can go. But uh,
All
yeah, it's
right,
coming
all
in
right. Well, something to
September.
look forward to.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome. I'm
It's
so
cool.
stoked. Yeah,
It's cool that Astral does stuff like that. Yeah.
so cool. Yeah,
All right, man. Well, let's. How about we close it out with a couple of questions? Sound good?
yeah, dude, I'm thirsty.
What actually? Let's talk about this. What you mentioned that you got a little. You've been jonesing for some expedition boating. What's on your hit list coming up?
Damn, dude, it's a good question.
If you if the world was, your oyster, if you could do whatever you wanted, where would you be?
Dude, I saw some amazing stuff. Owen Doyle and Toad, they were in Madagascar, running some kind of like bigger volume runs. That place looks really sick. I'd love to go check that place out. Uh, a bucket list item is obviously the Zambezi. I haven't been there yet. It'll probably become a
Oh,
fucking
really?
lake. Yeah, so I want to get there. That's not obviously not expedition style, but man, and also it'd be really
Yeah.
fun, man. I had some friends, man, from back in the day have always told me how awesome Peru is. Peru is for, you know, long overnight boulder garden stuff. I'd love to go check some of that shit out too. Um, man, I'd go back
Yeah.
to Ecuador. I've been there before. I'd love to go back there sometime soon, man. It's such a good culture, and it's pretty cheap, and the food's good, and Spanish is slow, and man,
For
it's
sure.
just good.
Seems like some people are unlocking some new runs there too.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Uh,
I interviewed Abe Herrera, like, right after he was in kayak session. That's what I do. Once you get in kayak session, you get on my podcast, and he was
nice.
talking about just like all the shit down south and stuff that is just not really that tapped. Like there's a lot of untapped stuff in Ecuador that people really are just still discovering.
Well, I need to hit up Abe, man. He's a good friend of mine. I love him.
Yeah, good guy for sure. What about your 5 year plan? What's your goal for the next 5 years?
I don't do that question.
No, okay, we can skip it. You just
No,
about living
okay.
life now.
No, yeah, it's now. I had man, I remember in my earlier days of paddling, you know, it's just like, what are you gonna do in 5 years? You know, you're not gonna be able to kayak anymore. And like, what are you gonna do in 5 years? They're gonna be like, I'm like, fuck off. Like, I'm gonna do whatever comes, man. I don't know. You know, in the next 5 years, it's try to stay in shape. Um, yeah, man. I'd say my goal is to stay in shape, stay strong, and get better at the guitar.
Man, those all sound like good goals to me.
That's my 5 year plan.
What kind of stuff do you play on the guitar?
Man, I'm just Man, I've been beating around on this thing for years, and I just started actually trying to like understand and learn it, like learn the notes. And I've been working on scale, so I've got my C scales, major scale, and G major scale. And um, dude, I honestly don't really play. I don't really have songs that I really play. I can play like a couple Tyler Childer songs and just some general bullshit. But I just like kind of like jamming and just kind of freestyling through it and just kind of like working out what sounds good to me. I need to start writing down like, what I'm, some of these things that just kind of I start playing. But yeah, I'm really trying to like, get some flat picking down and yeah, it's fun, dude. It's so fucking hard, dude. It's such a challenge. I'm gonna work on F and D scales after we get off the phone here, but I still like, all I know is those, the D scale, all the notes in that scale sound good with the D chord. But putting that all together is still not quite in my wheelhouse. But um, yeah, dude,
Yeah.
I'm determined to figure it out.
Gives you an appreciation for just how good some of these guitar players are out there, huh?
Man, I'm addicted to Billy Strings, as I was saying earlier, and he's definitely an inspiration for me to pick this thing up. That, and I always like to have a goal, dude. I like to always have something that I'm striving for. And, I feel like a couple years ago, I was really, and I still am, I love dirt biking, but that was kind of like my next kind of, sport I was working on and trying to get good at. And like, I've gotten pretty good at the dirt bike and like, I'll get a little bit better, but I'm kind of like, I don't know, I'm kind of getting up to where I hoped I would have been. And so I just I need something else, dude. I need to be always driven. And, the guitar is something that's just been right there, dude, on the back burner for me for so many years. And I love music so much. I always have, man, since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
My dad, dude, he has the whole house wired, dude. There's speakers inside, outside, living room, kitchen. Just music has been in my head since I came out of my mother, man, and I love it. Um, so yeah, I think it's time to focus on that and kind of push for that as my next goal to really it's fun learning shit, man. It's like, once it's like the most
Totally.
fun part is pushing yourself and like I was saying earlier about those days laying in the van, dude, and just kind of like looking up and kind of pushing through that struggle. It's like after you do that, and I did that, it's like, all right, I will figure this shit out. I'm going to get good at this without a doubt. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
My buddy Mark Morris, man. Do you know Rapid Grass? They're
Mm-mm.
Colorado based bluegrass. Yeah, my buddy Mark, he's their lead singer and guitarist, and he's been helping me a little bit. So shout out Mark, thank you, dude. But he's amazing, dude, amazing on the guitar. But yeah, it's kind of been my new obsession. Must be obsessed.
Nice. Well, being obsessed is good. That's better than
Yeah,
having no passion, right? Like that's the
it's
worst.
so much better, dude. So much better.
Well, let's leave with one last question because I asked Alex Nix this question. I kind of liked his answer. So would go back to our young Demshitz that we were talking about at the beginning of the episode. Super stoked on kayaking. He's like seen other people. He like wants to emulate that. He wants to go all in and just like live that lifestyle and figure out a way to do it and just kayak as much as he can or she. What
Yeah,
would you say to this person? What kind of advice would you impart?
I would say, you know, keep your eyes open. For me, so much of my success also had come from just like being friendly and talking to everybody. I feel like if you put it out there, man, and like some people don't like, they feel embarrassed talking about their goals or something because someone may knock you down and tell you like you can't fucking do that. But I think putting it out there, some people say putting it out to the universe or whatever it may be. I think in general, it's like you're putting it out there to the people around you, and those when you talk about it enough and you say it enough, not only does it get worked into your own mind, but it gets worked into other people's minds that can sometimes help you out. And I feel like that's happened to me a lot. It's just like if I've ever wanted something done or wanted to like get good at something, I've just like, I fucking put it out there. I talk about it, man. I'm like, yeah, I want to do this, dude. I want to do this, you know? Um,
Hmm.
so I think putting it out there to your friends and family and the universe and the people around you, it will help you a lot,
Hmm.
and it'll help, you know, cultivate that that drive, man, and just not taking no for an answer is pretty awesome. But I think, yeah, I think so much of it is putting it out there to your friends and people, and good things come to you. You know, always talk to people, always be good to people. Like it helps so much, man. It's just the positivity. Like it helps drive your, you know, it helps drive you down the road, man. And good things will come if you're good to people around you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's interesting. So not just setting the intention, but really putting that intention out there to all the people around you and letting it be known, like this is what I want out of my life. And people,
Throw it out
probably, I
there,
mean,
dude.
friends are about helping you find that too, right? Like,
Exactly. Yeah. I think you know, just like I was saying, I feel like people don't do that because they're like embarrassed that they're like, well, I'm gonna play like Billy String someday. Like, fuck off, Dave. Like, you crazy, you know? Maybe I am, you know, but yeah, I think that, you know, reinforcing that to yourself and to the people around you is really important, man.
awesome. That seems like a good note to end on. Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
Not much, man. Love all you kayakers out there. Hope to see you on the river. You know, spring's coming. I'm about to put the snowmobile away and dust my kayak off. But yeah, much love to the whole kayak community. I appreciate being on here, and anyone that's listening. And yeah, big up.
Sweet, man. Thanks so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. And I know you've been an inspiration to a lot of boaters out there and hope you continue to be.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. All I want to be is an inspiration. That's it. So if that's happening, then I'm super grateful for that. And yeah, thank you very much as well, Kevin. Appreciate it.